What's up everyone, your friendly neighborhood onesie guy here, back again with another card review. Who could have guessed? Today we've got some interesting cards to take a look at. Maybe some potentially very powerful cards as well. And some mediocre cards, let me say that. But without further ado and not wasting anyone's time, let's go ahead and check out the first card. So here we have a 4-mana 3/5 legendary Naga for mage. Battlecry: if you've cast 3 spells while holding this, add those spells back to your hand. So this would you'd probably want to keep this early game in your hand and start casting spells from then, and pretty much get those spells back, or you maybe want it from the mid game to get your more powerful spells back into your hand. Again, looking at this card base value, getting 3 spells back is pretty good. However, it says if you've cast 3 spells while holding this. Now, there doesn't say anything about if you've cast 4 or 5 or 6. So if you've cast maybe more than 3, is it only those first 3 that it's remembered? Is it the latest 3 that you've remembered? Is it 3 randomly amongst those? Just by the wording, I'd probably say it's the first 3 that you've played while this was in your hand. So you may actually only want this in your hand from the mid game. But mage likes spells. So if you are playing a spell-based deck, even a Naga / spell-based deck, getting additional spells back in your hand, possibly game-ending spells, would definitely be pretty powerful. So if mage does go for a spell / Naga build, I can definitely see this seeing play. It is quite a powerful effect, and even the stats of the minion means it can't just be taken out that quickly. It does have a decent health total for a 4-cost minion, so overall pretty good card, and I hope it sees play. I'm pretty sure it will see play in a number of decks. Next up, we have a 0-mana spell for Druid, aquatic form. Dredge: if you have the mana to play the card this turn, draw it. So one of the things that we've been looking at with Dredge is it always puts that card at the top of your deck. And so you don't get it immediately. You need to do something else, have some card draw, maybe have another card on board with an effect that enables you to get that into your hand right away. With this, it's a 0-cost or 0-mana spell that you can get that card pretty much immediately, again, if you have enough mana to play it. So if you've engineered your turn correctly, you play this at the beginning of your turn, and again, that you've added stuff to the bottom of your deck with other card effects, you can almost guarantee that you'll be able to draw that card and play it on the same turn if that is what you want to do. However, this could also be an end of turn card. Your hand is full. We still see things, with Malagos and Kazakhstan. If you've got a full hand and you just play this out just so you don't overdraw, you can still put one of those cards at the top of your deck. You can still have the normal Dredge effect without drawing that card. So there's a lot of uses for aquatic form, and I 100% think this card will see play in pretty much any deck that not only uses Dredge, but possibly Kazakhstan deck, because you can, therefore, if you've ramped up enough, got your treasures there, you can pretty much guarantee that you can draw that treasure and play it on that turn. So definitely 100% think this card will see play. Next up, we have a 4-mana 5/3 minion for Demon Hunter, Shaman Defector. Rush, Death Rattle, put a Sunken Defector on the bottom of your deck. And there we go, have a look at the Sunken Defector. Charge: after this attack, deal 5 damage to a random enemy minion. So very powerful in my opinion. We have not seen, to my knowledge, a lot of cards with the charge effect printed in a long time. So it's nice to see that it's not printed with Rush, that you have to push it into a minion. Also, the Sunken Defector, yes, again, after this attack, deals 5 damage to a random enemy minion, so you can push damage to face possibly and clear out a minion if need be. Again, we've seen a number of cards already that have the Dredge effect, and you can put this at the top of your deck and play it out pretty quickly and get damage hitting to face quite easily at this point. So I'm not sure what kind of archetype or what kind of build this would fit into, but I know people are going to find a way to run this in their deck just for the sheer amount of damage that this thing can push. Again, if you've got 2 of these on board, or somehow get more than that on board, you're hitting 5 damage to face every time with every attack, and still dealing 5 damage to a minion without the risk of actually destroying the Sunken Defector. So yes, definitely a powerful card. Jaina Defector, a powerful card, having its death rattle with the Sunken Defector. Definitely think it's going to see play in probably more aggressive Demon Hunter decks. Next up, we have a 1-mana spell for Druid, Shaman Gardens. Give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Put a Sunken Gardens at the bottom of your deck. Let me have a look at Sunken Gardens. Give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. So we've, in previous videos, looked at the Uther's spell. We've looked at, just earlier on in this video, the 0-mana spell that can pull a card from the bottom of your deck. So in this case, it would be pretty much perfect that those 2 or those 3 can pretty much go into any token Druid build. And token Druid has been an archetype that's pretty much gone through every single meta. There's always been a version of it, whether it's been good, great, or just average. There's always been a version of it, and this just adds more power to that. Not only buffing minions in your hand for the first part, but with Sunken Gardens then giving an additional 1/1 to basically all your minions wherever they are in your hand, deck, or battlefield. So then the smaller minions you go ahead and summon out later on will have those additional stats, possibly +2/+2. And if you've already played more than one of these, they could have even more than that. And then you just get a big board very cheaply that can dish out a lot of damage fast. So definitely another key tool to a token Druid build. And 100% without a doubt, this card will see play. And we go on to a 3-mana spell for Shaman, Bioluminescence. Give your minions spell damage +1. So this is where things can get very interesting. Say you're playing a Bird Shaman deck, and you've been running the Murloc that adds 1/1 minions to your hand every turn. You have a board full of 1/1 minions, you drop this, that's +7 extra spell damage. You could even already have a couple of minions on board that have spell damage. You drop this, add some more spell damage. I just think this card is going to be extremely powerful, especially because there's no overload to this card. We see a lot of stuff with Shaman where a lot of their most powerful cards will have overload just to balance out when to play it. With this not having any overload, just adding +1 spell damage to your minions, this could potentially just give you that extra bit, especially like say in a burn shaman or any kind of spell damage shaman, to push you over the edge and either clear an enemy board, get rid of a big enemy minion, or just end the game entirely. Though I think this card will be held onto as a game ender, just because it adds a whole bunch of spell damage, especially if you've got a wide board. And there's probably going to be some cards that's going to be cheaply adding small minions to your board, and then playing this and playing cheap spells that can go face, and you can pretty much destroy your opponent possibly in one turn. It's not uncommon to see Shaman, or especially now with the Burn Shaman, going for an opponent from almost full health to nothing in a single turn. So yes, 100% this card is going to see play. And I personally am a old school Shaman player, so I definitely want to see what this can do and how much more powerful it can get. Next up we have Coral Creeper, a 5-mana 3/4 Naga for Shaman. Battlecry, summon a 3/3 elemental for each spell school you've cast this game. So potentially with Shaman, I think that you can only get 3 spell schools at the moment. I'm not sure if Shaman runs anything else. It's nature, fire, and frost. I don't think there's any arcane. There is one arcane spell, but that's going to be rotating out. So the potential of this, as I see it now, is 5 mana, high roll, summon an additional 3/3/3s, which is a lot of stats. And again, looking at the previous card, you play this, you play that, gives all these minions spell damage. Or if you've played this on the previous turn and you still got some of those 3/3s around, you drop bioluminescence and you just smoke your opponent's face with a whole bunch of spell damage, as well having some decently statted minions to also potentially go face or clear out any additional threats. So Coral Creeper can definitely see in a spell-based Shaman deck that this can just fill your board with a whole bunch of stats. And then I think lastly for today we have the Rogue Colossal minion, a 6-mana 6/5 Krabatoa. Your crab claws have +2 attack. So as you see, the crab claws over there are 2 mana 2/1s with rush, and you'll get 2 of those. So essentially the turn that the Krabatoa is summoned to the board, those claws will be 4/1s, which again, paying 6 mana for 8 damage worth of stats on board initially, as well as being able to give you a weapon. We have already seen some rogue cards that can do some things when you strike with a weapon. So again, this Colossal minion fits perfectly into that kind of rogue build. Again, not too expensive as well, so a lot of stats on board initially, some good weapon upside if you want to buff your weapon later on. Also some really good game ending potential if you've got some stuff blocking your way. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good legendary. I think it's been better than some of the other Colossal minions that we've seen. In a possibly a weapon style rogue build we might see it, or a weapon buff rogue we might see it, although they generally don't put any minions or many minions on board. But this could also be, and pardon the pun, in a pinch, you could play this and get that additional weapon on, buff that weapon, and end the game right there. So definitely see this in some sort of weapon build, or just for the fun of it. I just want to see these Colossal minions get played just for the fun of it. And that brings us to the end of this card review. Again, hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the cards, your opinions on what will be played and what won't. Again, this one had some really good cards that I think will 100% find their ways into a multitude of decks out there. So for now, I'm going to say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye for now.